Hello, Counselor Stockwell. Can you hear us all right?
Oh, yeah, serious echo.
Counselors, I want to remind.
He made
I can hear you.
Thank you.
as chair, which was
Hey, Teddy, this is Byrne. I think there was a lot of echo there.
Okay.
Yes, I think I fixed it. And there's a lot of crosstalk right now, so there won't be when the meeting starts. But maybe not. And let me know if it continues.
we've had
All right, Council, it's 7 o'clock and the mics are hot.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Wazazak. It is Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, and I'll call this Barre City Council meeting to order. Councilors present tonight include Councilor Deering, Councilor Sean Bell, Councilor Booton, Councilor Wazazak. Joining us remotely is Councilor Stockwell, and in person, Councilor Lozon. The staff joining us tonight, we have City Manager Starla Castro, Clerk Treasurer Dawes, Deputy Chief is Joe Oldsworth,
Fire Chief.
our Chief Keith Cushman, Assistant City Manager Dawn
She went away.
Monahan. I know,
Yeah,
it just
there
got resorted on the screen, Dawn. And I think that is everybody. I was just looking to see how many years we've been a city, and I think this is the 128th meeting of the governing body of the city of Barre.
1895.
Do I have my math right, Treasurer? All right.
What's the date? 1895. I thought she said.
Yeah.
March 5, just in case you care.
So,
Good factoid to have.
So welcome to the 128th session of this governing body. Tonight's agenda is available online and in the back of the room. The meeting has been publicly posted, is being recorded, and subject to Vermont's open meeting law and the council's rules of procedure, which are available online. I'd like to offer a warm welcome to our guests and members of the public that are joining us tonight. And to those joining us online, please keep in mind that the chat function should only be used for technical issues or difficulties. The city offers online access as a convenience, and we will continue the meeting if difficulties occur. Please raise your hand or signal if you would like to be recognized, and if you could please speak into the microphone so everybody can be heard. I'll call on speakers in order, allowing people who haven't spoken yet to speak first, and limiting time if necessary to do the city's business. Also, as a reminder, please state your name for the record. If you have any questions about process or procedure, please ask and we will get it sorted. I want to thank everybody in advance for participating in a civil way. And that takes us to our second item on the agenda, adjustments to the agenda.
no adjustments from me, Mayor, though I believe we will have an executive session for personnel at the end of the agenda.
Great. Executive session for
And I
personnel.
believe we expect action for David's
Okay,
purposes.
with no action expected. Are there any other adjustments from council?
We move item F on the consent agenda to 8C.
To 8F to 8C, yes?
Yeah, and H, I've just got a question on H, but I think Dawn can likely answer it, so I think I'm good with H, but
Okay. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda? That would move approval of the new pilot agreement with Capstone to the last item of new business. I have no concerns there.
Nope.
Objections. All right. All right. And with that, I think that takes us to visitors and communications. Would anyone like to speak to an item that is not on the agenda tonight? If you'd like to speak to an item that is on the agenda, we'll take that up when we take up that item of business. All right, hearing and seeing none, that takes us to the consent agenda. So we have several items on the consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. We have ratification of the warrants from the week of March 8th, 2023, and approval of the city warrants from this week, the week of March 15th, 2023. Clerk's office's licenses and permits, none there. We have ratification of the council's February 28th, 2023 approval of the AFSCME contract. We have an authorization to sole source procurement for an independent auditor, Sullivan and Powers, right?
Correct.
And we have a designation of Brian Baker, Public Works Director, as alternate authorized representative for the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Funds. We have authorization of lease financing of planned capital equipment purchases, which Councilor Lozon has a question about. I'll take that up after I finish the list, Councilor Lozon. Authorization, a letter of support for the Building Energy Code and Ordinance Compliance Project, and a resolution recognizing the service of Fire Marshal Howarth to the city. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion and a second. Councilor Lozon, you had a question about item H.
Yeah, thank you, Don. You can likely answer this question. I'm still getting used to 8 interest rate increases in a 12-year period, which is unprecedented. So my question is simply either through, looking at the lease agreement, noting that it's relatively short-term, could we do better? Could we do better in the marketplace on the interest rate, the lease interest rate, or could we do better through some sort of interfund borrowing? And do we have that capacity?
You're muted.
Your sound's not coming through. It might be your sound settings. Don.
No, Don, you're not muted, but your audio's not coming through.
I know a little
If the
bit
answer
of,
is no, you can just shake your head, Don.
5 for yes.
That was a maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
should we maybe check to see if other people can talk and maybe it's our issue?
Sure, Counselor
hers.
Stockwell, would you, I don't know, read a poem or?
Good evening there, everyone.
Oh, okay, good, yeah. So it might, I think it's I suspect it's Don headphone setup.
I don't
Do you know the answer?
want to hold things up. I mean, you have authority to do this, right? That's my
Yeah.
only concern.
I
Is,
think-
was there, is there a less expensive way for the city to do this, either using our existing cash reserves or, going out into the marketplace?
I think for cash flow purposes, these amounts are pretty large, so we thought the lease financing was a better option. The interfund borrowing, I know less experience with, but we felt comfortable that these were pretty competitive rates based on where they are now. I mean, that
Okay.
we weren't going to do better.
But you did consider, so you and Don did consider
We consider multiple
those options? Okay, all right, then I'm fine, Don. Thank you. I'm good.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion on the consent agenda? Any questions from the public? All right. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Bernadette, I see you have your hand up.
Hi, yes, are all the bills that we pay part of the consent agenda?
They are.
So I have a question just about the electrical bill. How often do we pay that? And I see some pretty large amounts of money that the city is spending. And I know that we have some kind of solar but could somebody just talk for a minute about our electrical and solar and the large numbers that I saw when I was looking through the consent agenda? Thank you. There was like $100,000 or something, and
Maybe on, what was it, on the warrant of the March 8th?
oh,
Because the
you know,
warrant
I'm
of March
sorry.
15th has 11,737. It's for streetlights. Bailey Street, which is probably some
It's a
pump.
pump.
Yeah.
There was one, there was some about the like the BOR and the auditorium.
Yeah,
that were-
I mean, I can look through the warranty. I mean,
I-
I can tell you we're not
I'm
getting
sorry.
on our electric bill, but we have a lot of, there's a lot of activity at the BOR in particular this month with hockey games, hockey practices. So these are typically higher usage months for those facilities. But Bern, I can guarantee you there's no, we're paying normal electric rates.
Oh, yeah.
The things I worry about are the fuel payments that we have at the dilapidated Public Works garage that, loses heat every time we try to heat it. So those are the things I do worry about, but our electric bills are pretty standard.
Well, thanks. I don't have my computer, so I can't look at that and talk. I haven't figured out how to do that on the iPad. Thank you.
Thank you. So that takes us to the city clerk and treasurer report.
Okay, a few things. First of all, the election results from last week's town meeting elections are posted on the city website under the election section, so people can go look at the detailed results there. As I'm sure everybody knows, the Barre Unified Union School District budget did not pass. It is, the revote is tentatively set for May 9th, which is the same day that Barre Town does their town meeting vote. That kind of keeps everything together. The only little hiccup is that the Civic Center is not available because that's when we're hosting the annual highway show. So the school has reached out to the Labor Hall. And as long as we notify the Secretary of State's office that we're changing locations, because under normal circumstances, budget revotes have to be held in the same location that the original vote was held. But there is a caveat option. So we're looking at being at the Labor Hall. One other thing I want to let people know is that this is considered a continuation of the town meeting election. Therefore, everybody who received an early absentee ballot will automatically be sent a ballot for the budget revote. So we'll be mailing those out once the numbers are known and the warning is approved by the school board. So they will be going out. Next, the water sewer bills are out and about and are due by the end of the month, by the 31st. So stop on by or pay online or throw a check in the mail or drop it in the Dropbox. And then lastly, the manager and I testified at Senate Finance today on S94, which is our TIF extension. The bill passed the committee on a 6-1-0 vote. So we're pleased about that, and it's going to the full body for approval. And then, so the intention being to get it taken care of before crossover, so it'll go over to the House side. So we were pleased with how that went. So.
Thank you. I see a question from Councilor Schonbell first, and then Councilor Wozniak.
As I recall, there were folks in Ward 3 who did not get any mail-in ballots or the option for it?
Everybody had the option for it. We mailed postcards out in early January to all active voters, reminding them that they have to request a ballot on an annual ballot basis. And so people, if they didn't vote absentee for town meeting, they certainly can be added to the list now. It's not a question of you had that one opportunity, so
No,
people
I
can
was just
request.
taking up on what Byrne had reported at one point.
Yep. Yeah, so everybody has the opportunity, and we did send postcards out. Once they go out, we have no control over their delivery, but anybody can request a ballot, so. If you voted in person and now you want to vote absentee, just give us a call, so.
Counselor Wozniak?
I was just curious, who voted no in Senate Finance?
Senator McDonald. Not a surprise.
Killjoy.
I've testified about TIF stuff in front of them before, so it didn't come as a surprise.
Are there any other questions for the clerk treasurer?
Just a comment. Thank you, Carol. You work very hard to make sure that people get the opportunity to vote and that it's a comfortable place to vote and that it's well-run. And so thank you. And it was fun watching you melt down when it took a little while to reset the Ward 2 ballot machine. So thank you for that as well.
Just a little meltdown.
If you know Carol well, you were enjoying it. You were just there with the popcorn.
One of the things that, and I said it that night, is that, I reserve the right, clerk's privilege, that I get to look at the results first, because I have the tapes. That night, I said, I don't care. Here they are. Go look at them. I don't care.
You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah, Jesse Rosado?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I can't figure out how to put my hand up on this phone thing. But hey, I voted early in the town clerk's office. Does that mean that I'll automatically get mailed a ballot for school board, or do I have to come down to the, like, am I considered an absentee ballot at that point because I came in and voted early at the clerk's office?
Yes, you're considered an early absentee voter, so a ballot will be automatically mailed to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? All right, that takes us to our Liquor Cannabis Control Board. I don't believe we have any
Nope.
items, right? All right. So the city manager's report.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yep.
I just want to say that Clerk Dawes' report on the testimony today was generous. If she called what I did testify, which was introduce myself. Clerk Dawes carried all the water there and did all the talking and did a great job. So thank you, Carol, for calling that testimony.
I'm not sure whether I did a good job or just didn't let you talk.
No, you did. You did. But she did a great job, and I just want to give that credit because she talked through this bill and got to the result. So just a couple updates. Council, you just ratified the ASME contract. We've been working on that last week with the union to get that the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and we did. And so thank you for the ratification. We now have a 3-year agreement with ASME, and as you know, they represent our streets, water, sewer, treatment plants, and cemetery staff. We're well underway on capital plan implementation. I've been working with department heads basically every week for the last couple of weeks since the plan was adopted to make sure that we're staying on top of it. And part of that was the action you took today, which is replacing some of our aging fleet in public works and fire department. Those were things that were scheduled on the capital equipment replacement plan, and we want to make sure we're staying on top of those things. Something that was in the plan, wasn't budgeted, but is a major priority is the DPW facility. And so working with Brian Baker, new DPW director, we're going to be touring some local facilities. I think council's heard quite a bit about the plans that were drawn up. I think we've heard that it's just something we have to rethink. And so we're starting to look at facilities that may better fit both our budget and the footprints in the city. Starting Montpelier and Newport are two of the sites that we've been recommended to look at. So excited. Our counterparts in those communities, both managers and public works directors, have been super helpful, and really excited to hit the road to start to get a solution for that facility, which is in dire need of replacement. Have some updates on the Sanders CDS projects. EPA is managing the water main replacement project. They've actually reached out with their initial outreach last week. They're expecting guidance for this project in spring of 2023. So we're awaiting that guidance for that project. In the meantime, They've instructed municipalities to start doing training on EPA grants to the extent we haven't done it. We have a lot of experience here in-house on those grants, so I think we're okay there. We have to go through environmental review process, and there's a cost share provision here. So we do have confirmation. There's 20% match for the water main project. And we're still waiting for feedback from USDA on the ODD project. So we're a little bit further behind on that one, just waiting to know what the steps are for us. But we do know there as well that that has a match as well. That's a 45% match. So we're awaiting details. There's a lot to learn. For example, trying to figure out if the matches are for the project total or the funded amounts. But that's where those are. These are still transformational projects for the city. But we're waiting to hear from our federal partners on what those next steps will be. Certainly spring 2023 for the water main, and we'll have more on the ODD, and I'll share that as soon as we have it. When I echo Councilor Lozon's comments about all the election stuff, just want to also shout out the facility staff who did a great job. They've had a busy few weeks at the ODD with basketball, and on top of that, about 10 o'clock on Monday night, they turned the basketball gym into a precinct in about an hour and a half, so with some great team effort. Mayor, it was good to see you there. So we had a little bit of all hands on deck, but the facility staff did a great job after very busy weeks, making sure that we had a nice place to vote on Tuesday. And want to also welcome, as of tomorrow, we have a new permit administrator starting in Janet's office. So Janet officially gets to wear one fewer hat. And it's Michelle Labarge Burke, who many of you may know from the Opera House. She's just coming to this side of the building. So she will be she will be with us starting tomorrow. And that's it for me.
Thanks for the update. Any questions for the city manager?
Great job on the hire.
It's great to hear.
Just thanks for the, you had a post when you signed the contract.
Yes,
I'd like more of that, please.
absolutely.
You know, we tend to communicate when things come off the rails.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see someone post when something positive is happening.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, if there are no other questions for the city manager, that takes us to our first item of new business, which is approval of the 2023 coin drop schedule.
Motion to approve? Second?
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm sorry. Hate to do this to you. You're so, there have been a couple little tweaks since, sorry. I'm sorry, Senator
Call the question. No,
Stockwell.
Molly.
Counselor Stockwell, you're Senator
Yeah, buddy.
Stockwell. I didn't email you a copy, I'm sorry.
I'd vote for that, Senator.
So there are just a couple tweaks from what I sent you, because I had a couple groups finally respond to me with potential dates. So you can see that that we've got all the slots potentially filled. If you're okay with the groups that are listed, our process is that they have to be at least 3 weeks apart, that they have to have not had a coin drop last year. We don't want people to have them in back-to-back years unless we have vacancies, but we certainly have more requests than we have slots. So you'll see the first 4 have dates, and the last 2, the Legion Post 10 baseball and the BYSA football, don't have dates yet, but I will work with them to fill in dates that meet our criteria, as far as, 3 weeks between. So this is the list that I'm bringing forward for approval.
So just for the viewers online, we have the Barre Elks Lodge project graduation, Barre Community Baseball Softball, Spalding High School Football, Legion Post 10 Baseball, BYSA Football, and the City Council Christmas for Kids. And then just to review last year's, we had Kiwanis, American Legion, Barre Youth Sports, Friends of the Aldrich Library, and Barre Rotary Club.
You may notice that BYSA had one scheduled last year, but it was canceled, so that's why it's okay that they're on the list for this year.
All right, so we have now a motion to approve and second? Motion by Councilor Booton, second by Councilor Chambel. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Guys have it. Motion carries. Thank you. And that takes us to approval of a letter of support for the Prospect Heights project. And this would be a letter of support for funding from the Northern Borders Regional
Correct.
Commission, which is a federal entity for infrastructure funding.
Correct. So thank you, Mayor. So we have MA online, and Shannon's here from BADC. BADC has been spearheading the early stages of the Prospect Heights project, as you all know, and it's moving along after a lot of engagement with all the stakeholders. In fact, we had the BADC board meeting sort of became a summit on this the other day. So where this project stands now is, as you know, BADC applied for and was listed as number 5 on the priorities for the Northern Borders Regional Commission list. The next step in that application process is a letter of interest from BADC for the funding. And so we are sending a letter of support to supplement and lend our support to that letter of interest that BADC is submitting. Expect that letter of interest period to open later this week. It'll have a pretty short turnaround time, so I wanted to make sure council had a chance to weigh in on the draft letter of support, to reiterate our support for this ongoing project. We're still in the very early stages of this. As you saw, the draft letter that was included in the packet really commits the city to engaging with this future entity, whoever the owners are of this land and the developers, on the infrastructure. And that's, that's still some time away, but that's ultimately the construct of the city's engagement down the line. And that's really what the letter says. We have a housing need. We have a housing need for affordable to market rate, which is what this project is proposing to do, which is what our housing task force has told us is necessary. And the EDC is working on putting in with the partners to get the infrastructure in. At some point, the city will take over that infrastructure built to our specifications and standards. And that's what this letter is saying. And it's to support BADC's application, make it a stronger application for this funding from NBRC. So that's it for me. I don't know if MA or Shannon, there's anything else to add, but I know MA's had a chance to review this letter. I wanted to make sure that it covered and was supportive and helpful to the application. She has told me it is. But
yeah, thank you, Nicholas. You did a wonderful job kind of capturing where we're at in the project, and certainly appreciate everyone's consideration with this letter of support. We are also garnering letters of support from the town of Barre, of course, from the large major employers as well, as a part of, as Nicholas mentioned, this letter of interest, which is really the first step in this process. And that will open up this week. So we're drafting the letter of interest and attaching all necessary documentation to it.
Thank you. I see Councilor Stockwell, you have your hand up?
Yes, I left the meeting yesterday after about an hour, and I was wondering if there was a board formed for the common interest community. And I was also wondering, will this project have to go through steps similar to what the Northfield Street project has to go through in Montpelier? In other words, does there need to be a feasibility, marketability, environmental study, or is that not things you have to think about?
Sure, I'm happy to answer both of those questions. So we are in the process of forming the board. Actually, this week, we're in the process of filing the name with the Secretary of State, filing for the 501c with the IRS, establishing the EIN, and then drafting bylaws. Those will be a part of what we submit with our letter of interest. So hopefully that answers your question. That is in the process. The proposed name that's been tossed around is Prospect Heights Development as the name for the new organization. And as we discussed yesterday in the meeting, the proposed partners or new board members would be a representative from Barre area. So I will be joining that board, representative from CVMC, that will likely be Jim Alvarez, representative from FECTO, that will likely be Jim Fecto, Chris Violet from the town of Barre, likely Nicholas, of course, from the city of Barre, And we are waiting to hear whether or not Downstreet will want to join the board. Initially, we can always amend and add them afterwards. So that's that first part. The second part is, this project is definitely, as Nicholas said, in its infancy. What we submitted when we submitted our pre-application to the Northern Borders region in November, which landed us on the list, was a project which proposed the 30-acre lot that's for sale by the Fectos under the subdivision plat that was approved, confirmed by Janet Shatney in the 90s in perpetuity. That said, we do wholly recognize that that was 30 years ago, and there will be a lot of work involved with updating permits, et cetera. What we built into the budget was reviewed by a civil engineering firm, DeWolf, and that considered all the costs associated with any redesign, permitting for all of the infrastructure. So hopefully that answers your question. But yes, we are entertaining all that, and we plan on that process. Of course, the project hasn't been approved yet. We haven't gotten the money yet. So, these are the stages of it, but all of these irons are in the fire.
Thank you so much for bringing this project along so quickly. It's truly a very exciting project for Barre. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious, out of the 30 acres or 30 lots that you had mentioned, how much of that is physically in? I'm going to vote in support of this anyway. I'm just curious. How much of that land is in Barre City? I know it says the entrance will be half a mile from Main Street, but is the full development within?
All of it.
Okay, I was just checking. Great.
Yeah, I apologize. Either I broke up or you broke up, but Tom answered the question. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. Would you mind
Nope,
repeating?
you're good. I got my answer. Thank you.
Okay,
So I'll
all
make
right.
the
All I
motion.
heard was 30 acres and then you went into like robot mode. So I apologize.
Well, that's-
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. One question I had, Emma, about the board, is it going to have site control and take ownership, or will it remain under Fecto's ownership and then this new organization becomes the developer?
No, this will not remain under Fecto's ownership. This new organization would actually be writing a note purchasing this from the Fectos.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion or questions? Hearing.
I want to appreciate, May, all your work that you've put into this. I know sitting on the BADC as the council liaison, through this entire process, you've been very diligent. You've been able to answer every question that people have had. So really, I appreciate you being a partner in this. So I just wanted to make that comment publicly.
Thank you. And it's a great collaboration and the work has just begun. So I appreciate all your support.
Now, I would say if you need additional support from council as the planning commission takes up the bylaw modernization grant zoning amendments, as the subdivision plat circles back to the development review board, it could be that that those zoning amendments could be favorable to good outcomes there on that site.
Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. That takes us to item 8C, which is the approval of the new pilot agreement with Capstone.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So this is to implement a provision of our FY24 budget. We approached Capstone this fall to see about adding a new pilot for the an escalator for the pilot for the 45 Brook Street. That pilot payment had been at $5,000 in perpetuity since the late 80s. 87. Yeah. And what we did is we came to an agreement with Capstone. So Capstone has two properties with pilots. The other property is Gable Place. The Gable Place escalator was used to be a fairly convoluted calculation based on projected tax rate increases. So together with Sue and her CFO, we negotiated a 2.5% escalator for both properties. This, I think this is a fair deal for both parties. This provides predictability both for us and for Capstone, and keeps the escalator as one simple calculation that we can both plan for into the future. So yeah, excited about this agreement and very thankful to Sue for agreeing to meet with me even after I told her what the meeting was about.
So I wasn't part of the Brook Street conversation. It would have been different. I was absolutely part of the original Capstone calculation. And while it may seem convoluted, it was based in one simple premise: fairness. So if the city tax rate went up 5%, then their pilot would go up 5%. Because what we recognized, and it was actually Hal, help me out, Carol. Hal, who was the executive director?
Cohen.
Thank you. That we talked to. And what we explained to them was, when they were proposing to build that facility, we absolutely saw the benefit of it. But we simply said, look, we can't afford to go backwards. and we do that far too often. So what we asked the organization for is, we said, this is how much the existing buildings, which were being taken off the tax rolls, this is their assessment. And we want to start here. We're not going to add, you're going to do this beautiful multi-million-dollar building that's going to serve the community. We don't want any part of that. We just don't want to go backwards. And in order to truly not go backwards, we have to tie your annual increase to the increase in the tax rate. And, I've got some calculations if you want to, if you just want to take a look at them, at, how stark the difference is. If you take, for example, $10,000 and you apply a 4.5% increase to one and a 2.5% increase to the other, over a 20-year period, the one with the 2.5% increase is 44% less. It's a stark difference. So it's almost like if we don't have the right escalator, which is why when we did Capstone, we chose just the increase in the overall tax rate. Because if you don't, it has the same effect as diluting your grant list. I mean, they're contributing less, and we recognize that our nonprofits certainly contribute a lot to our city, and I would never, debate that fact. But we also recognize that we're just a service provider, and I'm just concerned that with this, I get it. The Brook Street deal stunk. That was I don't know who negotiated it. Wasn't me, but it was, no increase. It just, I don't know how that happened, but I'm just afraid that I'm not even sure what are they paying on the Capstone. It's been so long. I couldn't even tell you what they're paying on the Capstone facility now.
I don't have the dollar amount in front of me, but
Yeah.
actually the calculation is not based on tax rate. It's based on year over year amount to be raised by taxes,
Right.
which is slightly different than
Right.
that.
It's a little different, but the same premise that we'll start you here, but if anyone's taxes go up by 4%, your pilot is likely going up by 4% as well. So that's the only concern that I have, Nicholas, is that, sometimes we make decisions that seem good at the time, but they don't stand the test of time. And long term,
Yeah.
we end up having the same conversation that we have about Barre Housing Authority, saying, well, we don't really get a say. We don't really get a choice. We just get a check, and regardless of what they use for services, So that's my only concern.
Yeah, and Councilor Lozon, I mean, it's a fair concern. It's in some years, they'll pay less than what they used to pay as an escalator. In other years, it'll be more, right? So if the difference is under 2.5%, they're stuck at 2.5. And so there's no clause in here that makes it the lesser of or holds them harmless. So it was a balance, right? And so we thought that the predictability was good. Right now, we just don't have any. So if we start to do some, one of the things I've talked to Assistant City Manager Monahan about is making sure we're doing, it's great to budget using the historicals to help us understand how to set the budget for the following year. It's also good to have forward-looking financial plans, and that's a piece that this will help us do. We know what that 2.5% means year over year across time. And you're absolutely right. Some years it'll be less than what they were paying under their current pilot. Other years the city will benefit. We thought the balance of having the predictability was good, and also having this escalator working on Brook Street was going to help offset some of that as well. It's really, for us, it was a overall on the total. In some, it felt like a fair deal. But I can't contest what you're saying, because you're absolutely right. Under the current agreement, there are years when they would have paid more because of the calculation. In my view, the predictability and adding it to Brook Street outweighed that, but it's a balance.
Did you look at what the existing facility? So if you went back to the beginning of the agreement, and it's probably 15 years ago now, Carol.
Yeah, I don't.
So we've got some good long-term data where you could look. If I had a chart that showed me, okay, this is what they paid in actuality over the last 15 years, and this is what they would have paid if it was a 2% increase, I'd have an easier time with this. But I don't know if
I can pull
doing
that.
that comparison.
I've got that data, so I can pull it together.
And I don't want
for
to,
the
I
next
don't want to
meeting if
belabor
you
the
want.
point and hold you up. I know we're all busy people. I just want to have you looked at that data. I guess that's.
I looked at. I don't think I saw it going back that far. We looked more closely at in recent years what it would mean for us.
Define recent, like 5?
Yeah,
4?
I think we maybe 3 to 5 is
3 to 5.
But yeah, Councilor Lewis, and I definitely can't contest what you're saying. There would be years where they would do better, and there'd be years when they would do worse. I personally like having the predictability, but I'm sure.
But we're also
Christoph
stuck
said we can
with.
pull that data.
But in fairness to you, we're also stuck with 0%
Exactly.
on Brook Street.
Right.
So.
Really, they hold the key.
So realistically, even if our city budget came in, I doubt Brook Street is less. At $5,000, I know it's less. I know we started out at more. So effectively, if we were to blend the two, it wouldn't surprise me if you ended up at a 3.5, 3.75 overall increase. And I'm sure you asked Downstreet for more than 2.5%. And they said no.
Right, because they could choose not to negotiate, and we'd be
All right,
stuck where we are.
I'm fine with it. If you feel you've done your due diligence, I'm fine with it.
Motion to authorize the manager to execute a new pilot agreement with Capstone Community Action for purposes of creating a 2.5% annual escalator for Gable Place and Brook Street properties.
Motion by Counselor Wazazak, second by Counselor Deering. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. And that's for your signature.
Thank you.
Yeah. That takes us to upcoming business. So we have a busier schedule, I think, building up. And do you want to provide any previews for the 28th?
Absolutely. So 28th, we have the committee reset will be coming back. I'd like to bring back the strategic plan. So what I'll do is I'll send that around, because I know that's a little bit more than Friday packet reading. I'll make sure to get that to everyone before then. So those are two big to-dos for the 28th.
One thing I would preview is a suggestion from Councilor Wazazak to start the ward-based barbecues up again, as happened in the past. And
They were ward meetings that Counselor Booton and I chose to turn into. It doesn't have to be a
see,
barbecue.
I
but the
didn't
Ward
realize it
2
was
ones
just
are
Ward 2. I
barbecues.
thought they were all
What do you have against
barbecues.
barbecues?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I was gonna say we could set a date, talk about setting a date on the 28th. And then if there's any further discussion on Green Mountain Transit, that might be, I didn't know if the council wants to discuss that letter that we got back or not, but that's something we may want to look back to, but we'll put a placeholder in that. So anything else that
I
people
don't know
want to
that I'd
preview?
specifically want to do that, but I'm still a big fan of just, an open meeting where the residents who are impacted can have, their say. I mean, honestly, I was underwhelmed by the length of time of the response, the content of the response. just going to be honest, but you know, they're obviously Jesse's Rosato is pretty passionate about this issue, and there are others who are directly affected. So I'd still like to have, you know, a Saturday morning forum and have them come down and hear directly from the folks who are most affected.
Potential forum on a Saturday. And you
Yeah, just
prefer that
a,
instead
just
of
a, not
council
even
meeting?
a council meeting, just to, you know, specifically say, look, we'd like you to come down here and make yourself available to folks who have questions and to counselors who have questions about, well, when are you going to restore these services? That's, at the end of the day.
It's very simple.
Yeah, it's not a complicated question. We just don't seem to be getting
Yeah.
an answer.
Okay.
Yep, I'm happy to.
The other thing, I'm going to be tuning in remotely on the 28th. I'm going to be down in Boston at the Main Street America Conference for Downtown Vitality. I see Councilor Stockwell, you have your hand up?
Yes, I was just going to echo that I was really disappointed by the GMT response. And I'd like us to consider, are there other things we can think of? Are there other options? It just seems like we're getting the cold shoulder, very politely said, and the forum's a great idea. And where are we going to go for people to get public transportation? And if there's some other group that would be helpful for us, that would be good to know about. Other advocates for public transportation.
Thanks, Councilor Stockwell. So what I think we can do is Nicholas or I could reach back out to them and invite them down and make a space available on
Absolutely.
a Saturday. So.
Yep.
If there are no other upcoming business items to talk about, that takes us to roundtable. And maybe I'll start with our newly re-elected councilors. Councilor Stockwell.
I'll pass.
Councilor Wazazak.
Yes, a couple of updates from the Aldrich Library. The Aldrich Board of Trustees is looking for a new member from the city. There's not a specific number from the city or town. The bylaws just ask that we keep things balanced. And so that would lead to a city appointee. There are currently 3 members of Ward 2 on the board, so a non-Ward 2 resident would be great, looking at my Ward 1 and Ward 3 colleagues. And for the first time in 3 years, the Friends of the Aldrich Library want your books. That is right. They want your donations. They're running low on books, and they want to have a book sale later this year. So if you do have extra books laying around, or they've turned you away in the past year because they had a lot of books, bring those down to the Aldrich Library. I'll pass. Boxes of books. I do have to.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Sean Bell.
I'll pass.
It's Booton.
Oh, she already passed. Sorry. I'll pass.
Councilor Deering.
Just want to say I had a really good time at the Aldrich Library on Saturday, I believe it was. It was my 4 kids and my wife. We hung out there for about 2 hours, got to do a bunch of stuff, checked out so many books. Kids were just absolutely thrilled. And really pleased to see the excitement from our girls hockey team. See the fire trucks and the police cars, ambulance, just seeing our community come together for such an amazing season for those young ladies. And really looking forward to what we're potentially going to do on the 28th.
Yes.
So I don't want to spoil any surprises if you haven't said anything. But congratulations to Spalding High School girls, and just speechless with the accomplishment that they made at the gut. I'll pass with that.
Councilor Lozon.
Thank you, Mayor. To those re-elected, congratulations. I look forward to serving with you, and let's do some great things. Thanks, MA and the manager for the opportunity to work with them on the Prospect Heights project. You know, it's pretty exciting, and it is incredibly needed. At the last meeting, Councilor Deering and I, we both attended that meeting, as did Nicholas, as did Councilor Stockwell. Mr. Alvarez from Central Vermont Medical Center made a statement that blew me away. They have 200 open positions right now. Many of those positions they can't fill because they simply can't find qualified applicants or don't have applicants applying, but also applicants who are applying can't find a place to live, so cannot accept the position. So really excited to be working on that. And then lastly, a bit of a boring subject, Silicon Valley Bank. As you know, I mean, I follow finances. It's just how I roll. And I've had a lot of people saying, well, what happened? And could it happen here? It could happen here, could happen anywhere. It was a series of, I happen to think that our banks here in Central Vermont, our banks in Vermont in general, are very well capitalized and very well run. But you know, this was a bank that made, a huge bank, that made some questionable investment decisions, not reckless, not awful, but they made investment decisions that counted on interest rates remaining low. So when interest rates went up, their investments tanked, and that's when it really started to come off the rails, when they basically announced to the world, we need money and we need it fast, which is, so poor investment decisions, even worse communication. You know, they should have gone quietly to the government. Instead, they announced, you know, to the world, we're running out of money, we don't have liquidity. And they took a write down on those investments. And then there was a good old fashioned run on the bank. And that can happen anywhere. So, you know, I guess it's just a lesson in making good, sound decisions. And even when things come a little off the rails, being able to communicate that effectively. And it's, I mean, I thought of the fireside chats. I thought of FDR, and I'm like, you know, why didn't somebody do something like that? So, you know, do I think our banking system is sound? Absolutely, absolutely I do. Do I think there could, in fact, be some more bank failures coming down the pike? I mean, just the tanking of their stock. There were other banks that are absolutely sound, and they're, you know, when Moody's downgrades the entire industry, that affects everybody. So, you know, I think if people just, if you're in a local bank, you know, I'm not worried, you know, banking at my local bank here, and I don't think anyone else should be, but again, it just underscores the importance of good decisions and even better communication. Sorry for that long-winded like soliloquy. With that, I'm done.
Thank you, Councilor Lozon. I'd like to remind everybody that, or just share that tomorrow night, our Congresswoman Becca Ballant will be in Barre City at the Labor Hall from 5:30 to 7 to talk about housing issues within Central Vermont. It has a panel of people who are expert in housing issues that are going to be up talking about housing. This week is AmeriCorps week, and we have 2 AmeriCorps volunteers here in Barre City. I meant to print out the details so I could share a little bit more, but just want to give a shout out to that great organization doing community service throughout the United States by Americans. And the other thing I'm excited to see is that Governor Scott announced the municipal fuel switching grant program being run by Buildings and General Services, which I'm sure is exciting, has an exciting interplay with the capital programming that you're doing with staff. So, and like Councilor Lozon, look forward to working with everybody for another year. It's I think it may be the first year in several years that the council has been stable for 2 years. So I don't know, Councilor Booton's going through the clock. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. But
we'll see if we can shake that.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. And with that, I'll pass, and that takes us to our executive session. Unless there's any final words.
Yep. Motion for findings.
Motion for findings by Councilor Wozniak, second by Councilor Sean Bell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it, and this is for personnel. Is there a motion to enter executive
Personnel
session?
and I think evaluation as well of a public, personnel is fine.
Yeah.
Personnel, okay.
Get that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to enter at, it's 7:52. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. We will go into a breakout room and then return.
Yo. What's laws?
Would move to exit executive session.
Seconded.
There's a motion to exit executive session. It's 8:37. Second by Councilor Wazazak. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The
Move
ayes-
to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it.
Night,
Good evening.
Sam.
Pardon?